EcoArts TV. EcoArts TV. EcoArts TV.
By Parachute Studio.
Hello, welcome to EcoArts class. Today we're going to be talking about flying bugs. That's right, flying bugs and artists who love them. Bugs, aka insects, have bodies in segments and legs with joints. Can you say exoskeleton? Adult bugs have what's called an exoskeleton. Instead of having their skeleton on the inside like us humans, they wear it on the outside like a suit of armor. Bugs are the only animals without spines that can fly. Insects have more species or different kinds than any other animals in the entire world. This might remind you of that one word. Different kinds of life.
Yes!
Biodiversity. Yes, counting the number of species will tell you how many different life forms, in other words, how much biodiversity there is. Insects have been around since long before dinosaurs, and some say they rule the world. Humans have been jealous of flying animals like insects for a very long time. Leonardo Da Vinci is not only considered to be one of the greatest artists that's ever lived, but he was also an inventor, a map maker, an engineer, and a scientist. He even made music, and he lived in the Renaissance period, a time of great change and discovery between 1450 and 1650. Da Vinci studied birds, bats, and other flying creatures so he could invent flying machines, drawing detailed plans for us to see hundreds of years later. No one is completely sure whether Leonardo da Vinci ever actually risked his life trying to fly in the air, but he spent endless hours on invention. His parachute may have worked on toys or small models, but people are heavy. Leonardo da Vinci helped to create the scientific method, currently the most widely accepted way of learning about the world around us. For Leonardo da Vinci, observation, hypothesis, and experiments were critical to art just as they are critical to science. Using the scientific method, scientists today know that bugs do us an awful lot of good. It turns out insects are pollinators, transferring pollen from plant to plant to help make more plants. Most farm plants depend on pollination. That means 1 out of every 3 bites of food that humans eat. You can also thank insects for the survival of most flowering plants. So not only are insects great pollinators, but they help to balance our ecosystems. They provide food for birds and other species, and many bugs eat other bugs, helping to keep ecosystems in balance. And lastly, insects make our soil awesome for plants to grow by making tunnels and adding nutrients and breaking down waste and making nutrition available to other living things. There's a reason that artists appreciate bugs so much. Christopher Marley is an American artist that loves nature and has a whole book featuring his insect art. Christopher has observed that one way to protect the homes of insects is to support responsible insect collecting, which requires a healthy forest. Wait, why do we need to protect insects? According to National Geographic, insects are disappearing extremely fast. Some of the causes could be climate change, habitat loss from human developments, pesticides or chemicals used to kill insects, and species from faraway lands taking over a new ecosystem. People that study bugs found that 3 out of every 4 bugs disappeared in the last 30 years in Germany. In other places, like the United States Midwest, insect populations have dropped by 1/2 in less than 10 years. No! There are a lot of ways we can help to protect the flying insects. One of those ways is to reduce our greenhouse gas pollution. Of course, one of those ways of doing that is by not wasting your food. Not wasting your food. And carpooling. Carpooling is very good for that pollution. Also, we can help to protect the areas that these insects live and where their food lives as well. We also can use less unnatural pesticides and fertilizers that kill bugs. And we can be very careful when we bring a new species into a new area. Sometimes they take over. Let's make some art. Step 1, please gather your materials. You are going to need a thick white sheet of paper. It can be a small piece of paper because we are going to cut it the size of a postcard. If you don't have any thick light colored paper, you could take a regular piece of paper and fold it in half and glue it together. That way it's nice and thick like a postcard. Your paper should feel like a postcard. Now to get the right dimensions, postcards are usually about 4 inches by 6 inches. So you're going to take that ruler and you're going to grab your pencil and you are going to measure 6 inches along the bottom and 4 inches high. You can draw lines across to outline your rectangle. Then you're going to take those scissors and you're going to go ahead and cut out the shape of your postcard. Step 2, you're going to draw your first flying bug in pencil. Then, of course, you're going to follow with that black pen. So if you want to follow along with me, we can draw the endangered Franklin's bumblebee, or the Amani flatwing, or other endangered insects, or any other flying bug you can think of. I ended up adding a ladybug, and then just for fun, I added a couple of ants as well. Now we are going to be creating a cool pattern, much like our featured artist, Christopher Marley. So do think before you start drawing, think about what shape you want your pattern to be in. You're going to need to draw pretty small and very detailed. So make sure your pencil is nice and sharp, and we are going to just go ahead and get started. You can rewind this video to any of the bugs you've seen in this video, and you can copy what they look like, or you can follow along with me and do some of the endangered bugs. It is absolutely up to you. Any insect that inspires you, we can use here. If they have wings, that's even better because you know that Leonardo da Vinci would love that. Now there is a special word for the space in between your subject. Now what is your subject here today? Your subject are your insects, right? Each of those are your subject. Now, in between each of your insects, we have what is called negative space, which is just this plain white space in between your subjects. Now, you're also going to be making patterns with the positive space in your art. The positive space is the area that the subject occupies. In other words, my butterflies are going to be my positive space, as well as my bumblebee and my flatwing. Now, I just looked up images of endangered flying bugs on Google. So if you are not inspired by the insects that I chose, you are welcome to find your own. Keep adding different insects until you are happy with your negative space and your positive space. Some of you might want to use newspaper or magazine to cut out the shape of your insects and glue it on. This is more like a collage, and that is absolutely welcome here too. Once you are happy with the way your bugs are spaced on your postcard, whether you cut things out or just drew them with pencil, now you can trace over anything you want with pen. So if you did everything in pencil like me, you can go over your pencil with your pen and of course erase those pencil marks before we grab our colors. Now, if you're going to use crayons or colored pencils or pastels, you can go ahead and get started coloring things in. A few of you might have paints at home, and if you choose to paint like I did, you are going to want to flip your postcard over and do your writing first That way you don't end up with paint everywhere. So as you know, probably most postcards have an address and they are addressed to someone. So you can pick anyone that you want. You can write a letter to a friend, a neighbor, one of your parents, someone you haven't seen in a while. I chose to write my letter to Leonardo da Vinci. And I said, "Dear Leonardo, thank you for studying the world of flight so we can have parachutes and helicopters. Today we drew flying insects because it seems you forgot how important they are to study too. So many of them are disappearing. I will do my best to learn more about what I can do to protect insects and animals like me that depend on them. Sincerely, Ms. M." If you're not sure who to write to Leonardo da Vinci and tell him how you observe and appreciate flying insects today. Feel free to make it rhyme if you want, and if you get stuck, take some time outside to notice how bugs fly and what kind of things they provide for you, like honey. I chose to color my postcard in what are called monochromatic colors. Monochromatic just means something that has different values of the same color. As you can see, I chose blue, and I have lots of different tints of blue. You could pick any color and have different shades and tints of that color to have a monochromatic artwork. Now, I didn't stop there. I decided it would be fun to add just a little bit of complementary color, so it's not perfectly monochromatic. I did blue, and then I went ahead and grabbed orange, which is the opposite color, the complementary color for blue. And with that orange, I added a little bit of white, and I had some fun adding some pops of color.